Oh, hello, hello. What is today? Happy Wednesday to you. Amy here for Dutch Touch Interiors. First of all, full disclosure, my plan is to do a few more of these free live trainings for you and then share them out. Now, um, before I jump into today's topic, I do want to offer, if you have some questions about a design project that you're working on or a renovation, what have you, I would encourage you to enter them in the comments below. I can't go super in depth into them, but I will do my best to answer them on a next live call. All right. And then the other thing that I would encourage you to do is to like the page so you can catch the videos when they come live, and be sure to share them out. All right. I would love it if you would just share this out. If you have a friend or a family member who's getting ready for some whatever updates to their home, or they're really struggling with something, maybe they're really struggling with like painkillers or something, then feel free to share the videos as they come across. All right. What I want to talk about today is the planning ahead in a renovation. So I met with a client last week who is at what I would call the very early stages of planning. Now, my favorite projects are when clients know that they want to do something and they contact me like a year or 6 months in advance. All right, because here's why. With time, when you have an abundance of time, you have the ability to test and trial some options. When you don't have the time to do that, you not only limit yourself to what's available right now, you cause incredible stress, and suddenly you don't have the option to try and test things out. You don't have time to allow for potential decisions to sit. Now, here's why planning ahead is super powerful. Beyond the fact that, it's good to have some added leeway. When you plan ahead, one of my favorite things is during the evolution of a design project. So most often when I meet with clients, I do an initial design session, and then we go from there. From there, if they're going to do a renovation, we'll go into the planning stage. Usually we have a few months ahead of time, and this is key. Here's why. When we do the initial plan, when I meet with clients at the first design session, they always have ideas or thoughts about what's possible. And that first design session is a deep discovery for me about what they're thinking about doing and what their budget is, what their vision is for a space, what they need it to do, what they want it to do, what would be ideal, what they can get rid of, things like that. When you have time to plan and to sit and allow those things to think about, let's say, for example, you're planning a kitchen. You might think that this specific layout will work, whatever the layout is that you have in mind. So maybe you're thinking like the dishwasher is going to be to the right of the sink, and the fridge is going to be on the left, and the stove is going to be behind you, what have you. When we go into the planning stage, if we're doing a renovation like this, typically I will do design drawings for the client. Once we get into the drawing stage and the client actually can see it in front of them, they might go, oh, that doesn't quite work like I thought. Or if that goes there and then that goes there, then now all of a sudden there's this like weird little space over here, or we don't have enough room, or what have you. When you are going at it with what I would call your hair on fire, then you don't have time to get that perspective. Right? So when it comes to design projects, where I see most people fall down, especially when it comes to the DIY projects, two things happen. They dream about it for a long time without ever like taking any steps forward in terms of figuring out what their budget is and starting to bring in the pieces that they need to match their budget. Or they wait until the last minute and go, crap, we're going to do this right now, so now I need to go find everything. In both cases, you're creating an enormous amount of stress on yourself if you're just like thinking, and you're just, putting these beautiful pictures on Pinterest, but you're not actually taking any steps to go look at like that beautiful, so those graphic tiles that you see on the floors are a perfect example. You can get tiles that are like $5 a square foot. You can get tiles that are $40 or $80 a square foot. So let's say you have a vision of a tile that you just would love to have, and you find out it's $80 a square foot. Well, chances are that you're probably not going to be able, especially for a DIY budget, you're probably not going to be able to put that in. There's other things to consider as well, as like install and the weight of the tile, things like that. But it's important to take steps between the envisioning, the going through Pinterest and pulling out the ideas that you really want, and actually putting them together. And when it comes to giving yourself some time to do those things, part of it is that you can, this is really powerful, you can make some selections based on your budget. So let's say you have a $5,000 budget to your bathroom, which is a super tight budget, let me just say. But let's say you have $5,000 to do your bathroom, you're gonna do it all on your own. So you know that a $40 square foot tile is not gonna fly. It will not fit in your $5 or your $5,000 budget. But you might be able to, with time, find a tile that you really love that may go on sale. Different suppliers will have different promos at different times of the year. So this is a really cool thing. If you are determined to have that super exclusive, very shishi, high cost tile in your bathroom, if you have time, then you can keep an eye out and you can ask the manufacturer, let me know when there's a promo running, because maybe you could save 10, 20, 30%, right? It's possible for those things to happen. The other thing that you want to bear in mind, tile's a great example, is if you are doing it last minute, you are only able to select from what's in stock. I've seen this happen too many times where clients will, they go through with their hair on fire at the end, they just pick out whatever they possibly can, and then they find out that this one that they really loved is going to be 6 weeks out or 12 weeks out, and they can't wait for it. So then they need to go find something else. And almost every time, the something else that they find isn't as good as what would have been done before. Chances are you're probably not redoing the space again for quite some time. So give yourself the gift and the benefit of time to plan and pull things in ahead of time, all right? Working with a designer can be hugely powerful here. And again, the ideal is that you give your designer time to work with you. Here's why. First of all, they may not be able to meet with you tomorrow. So I have put a policy in place in my business that I will not set next day meetings, because I've had clients where literally like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, panicking, we need to get in right away. And I said, great, I have space next week. We can't get in next week. Can we meet tomorrow morning? So I rearranged my entire day so I can meet them first thing in the morning. And 2 hours before our appointment, literally 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a message, sorry, we can't get in. How about next week? So I have a strict rule in my business now that I will not set next day meetings, because my time is valuable. And that client never ended up calling me back again afterwards. I have some cancellation policies that they just weren't happy with, and that's fine. So I don't want to work with clients like that. So part of it is that you want to give your designer time. They may also not be able to take your project on right now. I have a designer that is a mentor of mine here in the city, who I think is, I am in total admiration of her. Like, she has built the kind of business that I am aspiring to and working towards building. But she's not available for 6 months. And so she'll have people that will come in, and she refers work to me from time to time for people that are like, I need to do something right away. You know, is there somebody that you know who might be able to squeeze me in? And I can often squeeze in like a 2-hour design session in a week or so. I can sort of put it in. But she's not available to do projects for 6 months. So if you waited until the last minute and you're like, oh my gosh, we're totally over our head, but the contractor starts on Monday, which I've had, then, you know, how do you've set up your designer to fail from the beginning. And it's you are spending a lot of money on doing this renovation. So it's important to also honor the money that you're spending by giving it some time to be able to figure out the decisions. Okay? So a few things that I want you to take away with today. Like I said, be sure that you give yourself time to do this. If you're in a DIY reno, I want you to set a specific due by date. Here's what I mean. There are literally thousands of options of tile and flooring and paint colors and bathtubs and sinks and faucets and cabinets and handles and lights, and I could go on and on and on. If you only sit in the realm of possibility without giving yourself a due by date, you will not progress past the realm of possibility. You'll get lost in the ideas, you'll get lost in the trends, in the pretty, in the what's happening now. So I want you to give yourself a due by date, and so when I say due by date, I must do this by date X. So your due by date, give yourself about 6 months, because it's going to take time. You may not be able to like just join right away. You might need to have some time to go out on the weekends. Maybe your next 3 weekends are booked with things for the kids, or you're gone skiing. If you're like me, you're gone skiing in the wintertime, right? So give yourself some time to actually get in there, figure out what you need to have, and visit a few places so you can test some selections. Then I want you to also take home samples. This is so important. Sometimes you'll have to pay for samples. As a designer, most times I don't need to pay for samples. I have accounts with different suppliers, and because I'm a designer, I'm working on multiple projects, usually samples are free for me. You may need to pay for a sample, and on occasion I need to do as well. That's okay. Usually you'll get it back when you bring it back. The reason I say take home a sample is that the light and the atmosphere in the showroom that you're seeing it is totally different than the light and the atmosphere in your home. So I want you to focus on bringing those pieces home. So if you have a couple of options that you really love in the store, take them home so that you can actually see what they look like. And don't be afraid to ask for more than one tile. So behind me, you can see I have, right there, I have 3 little tiles that are sitting there. Now, I picked those up at a supplier when I was down in San Francisco. I really like them. I have them as a possibility for a client that I'm working with right now. The reason that I took 3, you can see in the video right now, they are 3 different colors. So if you only take one, now this one's a little bit different because it's a fired tile. So the coating sets a little bit different when you fire it. But the reason that I took 3 is that they're different colors. If you're doing something like a white subway tile, you may or may not want to take more than one, but I would suggest always, if possible, take 3 tiles, because that way you can kind of play around with the layout of the tile. You can see how it looks in different lights. You can put them in different places around the room. It's important to be able to take them home, all right? And finally, I would start putting in, I use a traffic light system. This is a fantastic system that I developed for my clients. A red, yellow, green, and I use stickers. I think they were happy face stickers or stars, I don't remember, but I use stickers. So if you have, and again, I'll go with tiles just because it's an easy example. If you know that likely you can fit a $5 to $10 tile, $5 to $10 per square foot tile in your budget, then a tile that is inside that price range gets a green sticker. If you found a tile that you're totally in love with, but it's like $15 to $20 a square foot, it gets a yellow sticker. If you have a tile that is like, oh my gosh, this would just be the cat's meow, I would love to have this in my home, but it's like $40 a square foot, it gets a red sticker. Here's why. It is not to say that you cannot go with that, but as you start to put your selections together, and this is super powerful because it's visual, you see it in front of you, if you have an entire collection of things that are all red stickers, you know without even ever having to crunch the numbers that you're going to be over budget. Now, on the other hand, if you have a whole round of things that are all green stickers, but you're like, oh, I really like that tile that's $40 a square foot, then because everything else is all green stickers, you know they're on budget, then maybe you can tie in this other one. So maybe you can switch out the green sticker tile that you're okay with but don't really love for the one that you totally love but is 100% over budget, right? So a sticker platform like that is really a super easy, powerful way to identify right away what will fit in the budget, what will not. All right, so like I said, it is so key to plan ahead and to give yourself time to test out some options, take some samples home, see what's gonna work, and set yourself a due-by date. Super important if you're doing a DIY project, give yourself a due-by date. And if you're saving up money to get there, give yourself a date that you would like to start the renovation by. And we're not going to get into it today. I don't want to get into the idea of, you may want to hire some trades, but give yourself that idea and then aim to have all of your, if it's DIY, you're doing all the work yourself, aim to have your total materials cost to be about 10 to 15% below your budget. So if your budget is $10,000, aim that you can get all of your materials, everything in place for about $8,500 to $9,000, because you may need to have that little extra space. You might need to hire somebody in. You might need to all of a sudden, let's say you were, so in our case, our bathroom backs into our kitchen. Now we were gutting our entire house, that wasn't the end of the world, but let's say you are, you're working in the bathroom and you slip with the hammer and you suddenly hammer through the backsplash in the kitchen. Now you're like, well, I can't leave a hole there, right? So small things like that, which can become big costs, if you don't allow a little bit of buffer room, you're going to be stressing yourself out. That's not what needs to happen. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. I would encourage you to please, if you have questions about your home or renovations you have coming up that you would love some training on or some insight, then please pop them into the comments. And again, I would love it if you would share this video. If you have other people that you know are about to do a renovation or are really struggling with their home or their office, share the video with them. And yeah, let me know what the things that you'd like to know more about, because I would like to bring more of this training for you. And it would make it a lot easier for me if I know the problems and the questions that you have, rather than just guessing and telling you about the ones that I know most clients have. All right, with that, I wish you a fantastic rest of the day and look forward to seeing you soon.